Hey, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
This is Woodturners Coffee Hour for Thursday, March 24th. I think it's number 94, maybe 95. I kind of lost track here. I'm seeing 41 on screen right now. Um, I have a couple of announcements to make, before we go on to our usual sort of diet of show and tell, I have a question to put to some of you as well. First of all, the announcements: the Lancaster Club meeting on April the 5th is a hybrid meeting. We'll be gathering at the Kaufman Space in New Holland. We have the new lathe installed. There's four of us going out on Saturday morning to continue to futz around with audio. And Barry has made some tunnels for the wires so we can get all the wires buried so we don't have to trip on wires and everything like that. So we're really heading to a very, very slick setup there, and we've rearranged the room completely. So everybody is welcome to come on out and see and try it out. We'd love to have a bit of a group there and see how it all works. The next announcement is that on April 14th, Coffee Hour, we're going to have Jacques Vezery from Maine, very well-known artist in the AAW, who's well-known for his miniatures, his feathers, his very delicate carving and painting. And he'll come and give us a little slideshow and talk about his career and answer questions. So that's our next special event with a guest star. Today, Bowman, if you go back to gallery view now, before we got started with our usual agenda, I wanted to talk briefly with any and all of you who are members of other clubs who are having hybrid meetings and posting videos of your meetings and recording meetings and like that. I know that a lot of you belong to multiple clubs. So could I have a show of hands from guys who belong to some club that is beginning to have or has been having hybrid meetings and intends to record the videos and post videos? Who have we got here who's got that? Use the raise hand because I want to ask you each questions. If you could raise hand on that so that you all popped up on my screen so I can ask you some stuff if you wouldn't mind. Okay. Let me see. I see Mike Peace. Which clubs are you a member of?
I'm a member of the Chattahoochee Woodturners, meets up in Gainesville, Georgia, a little north of Atlanta. I'm also a member of the Atlanta Woodturning Guild, which has been meeting at Woodcraft, but they won't let us back into their facilities, so they found a senior recreation center that will host us and store a lathe. Also a member of the Georgia Association of Woodturners, which has not gotten back to meeting yet because they got kicked out of Georgia Tech and they found new space, but it won't be ready for another 6 weeks or so.
So the first one, though, that you mentioned, that you guys are having hybrid meetings?
Yes.
And are you recording them as well?
Yes.
And do you post videos, post the videos on YouTube or someplace?
Not very well.
The reason I'm asking this is I'm going to be proposing, I think, a monthly meeting of clubs that are doing these things to just compare notes. And I'm just looking for gathering information before I get too deep into that. So let me see who else can. Duxbury, what about you? What clubs do you belong to and what's the situation?
I belong to North Coast in Ohio. I belong to the AWGB in England. I belong to Raleigh, North Carolina Woodturners Guild, Piedmont Club, and the Carolina Mountain Woodturners.
And how many of those are doing hybrid meetings?
The Mountain Woodturners, well, three of them. The Mountain Woodturners, North Coast, and Raleigh. Raleigh does a really good job, and they also post.
They're the only one of those who post?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
I don't think North Coast does.
Okay. Let me put the same question to the others who've raised hand. How about you, Karen? Karen Drennan, what clubs do you belong to?
Woodchuck Turners of Northern Vermont, and we aren't doing any hybrid at this point. And the Sarasota Woodturners in Florida, and they do hybrid meetings, and they post that the members can go to their website and in a members only section watch the videos.
Okay. Rich, tell me your last name, Rich. I don't recognize you.
Sorry, Rich Colvin. I'll put that in, change my name. So I'm from Columbus, Ohio, and I'm a member of the community here. as well as the Ornamental Turners International and the British SOT. And then we have an informal group of ornamental turners from Northwest. And so we do a Zoom meeting, which is obviously very much, as you say, on Zoom with the guys in all of those. And the ones in British do a really good job of recording those sessions. And we do a monthly session where we have somebody come in and speak. I'm really glad you asked this question because I've just been elected president of the Columbus group. And as we look to go past COVID, and I'm asking this question of how many people are going to feel comfortable coming in. And as we look at a lot of demonstrators, we'll be doing interactive remote demos anyway. I don't think we're going to get demonstrators traveling as much as we used to. So this idea of virtual meetings is going to be something I think very key as we look going forward. And the recording of it would be great for people who couldn't make the meeting, especially how do you make sure that it's valuable to them.
So would you be interested in attending a monthly meeting of club executives who are involved in this problem just to compare notes?
I would.
Yeah.
I would. You know, and the other thing, by the way, that I'm interested in is how do we balance that with something that's useful for the new turner? And how do you do something there?
That's a real good question, too. And that's another separate question we should take up separately sometime.
Okay.
Let me keep on going through because I'd like to get past this polling part. Bowman, how about you? Are you involved in a club that records and posts?
I am a member of First States Delaware club, and they are Zoom now, but I think they're going back to hybrid. When they tried hybrid a month or so or while, it didn't go well for us on Zoom. But I think it was partly a learning experience. And obviously I'm part of LAW, and you know what you guys are doing. The Delisle people, the times I've been with them have been Zoom, so I haven't seen them in a hybrid situation. Okay. I think the observation is that they have the technology, but they don't have the know-how. I think that's what happened in First States. I don't mean that negative to them, but
that's partly why I'd like to try and start a forum for clubs where we can share know-how, because it's been very hard won. I mean, we've gotten pretty good at it at Lancaster, but we've done more than 90 Zoom meetings. You got to learn something. Bert, you too? How many?
Yeah, actually, well, I belong to the Edmonton Woodturners, Central Alberta Woodturners, and the Calgary Woodturners Guilds. That's the three of the clubs in Alberta. Lethbridge is way down south. I get their information, and we share information with them as well. I've got the hybrid system set up, and we've kind of tested it, but we haven't actually done a live hybrid meeting, but we're planning on doing that. I think our first in-person meeting we're hoping to do in April, and we're going to do a hybrid system there. But my challenge is to be able to set the things up and actually try it in a forum like this of like-minded people, where when they hit a speed bump, we all know that we're just finding out what the speed bumps are. I've run into so many speed bumps online live that it's a real scramble to try and make the system work. So I like your idea of getting together with a group of like-minded people where we can just poke and prod and hit a few speed bumps and learn something.
Okay. How about you, Mark Skinner? Yeah, you're muted, Mark.
Okay, I wasn't sure if I needed to unmute or you could do it for me. So at any rate, so I'm a member, of course, of LAW and also the Quad State Bodgers, which are based in Western Maryland, and have members from West Virginia and Pennsylvania and maybe from Virginia. We've been doing hybrid meetings from Carroll's shop. I had one last Saturday. Zoom stuff seems to work fairly well for us, aside from the usual screen sharing problems. We have not posted stuff, but I guess we could talk about doing that. I'll maybe defer to Gerald on that because he's our video expert here. No.
Okay, thank you. How about you?
Thanks.
Tatkowski, how about you?
Well, I belong to Susquehanna Woodturners in Harrisburg. I see Troy Nethaway is has his hand raised too, but we have hybrid meetings just this past month at Woodcraft store, and we had maybe about 28 attendees there, and they do record, but I haven't seen or checked, what the results were. And I don't know, maybe Troy knows if
let's ask him. Let's ask him. Troy,
I would.
Situation.
Go ahead, Troy.
I don't think Susquehanna posts the video, but I attend occasionally the Lehigh Valley meeting, and they do post theirs. Of course, attending and being a member, paying member, is a question. Maybe, John, if you get these meetings going, you could query those presidents or representatives as to how they deal with membership to the club versus just people viewing in on their Zoom meetings.
That's a good question. Our club has decided to keep this coffee hour open to anybody who shows up, because our experience is people who like it tend to come back, and then they start to feel guilty and they send us $30. But we don't press anybody to do that or not do that. On the other hand, for club meetings, monthly club meetings, we'll invite somebody who's interested to join, but it's not an open call. You only get the invite if you're on the membership list or you've been invited specifically to have a free meeting. That's how we've done it, but the other clubs are doing it different. I know that for sure. How about you, Ernie?
I'm a member of all the clubs here in northeastern Ohio, which includes the Buckeye, that's out of the Akron-Canton area, the North Coast, which is essentially Greater Cleveland, and we now have a Lake Erie chapter, which is Lake County, and then there's one in the edge of Pennsylvania over in Erie that's now kind of in this quad, run by the same usual suspects. The Cleveland is the best at Zoom, with the Akron being right behind them. Cleveland now has probably 8 monitors that they put around a room during COVID to spread people out more, and you can have a monitor always within 5 or 6 feet of you if you want, certainly no more than 10 feet. And they do a great job. How they post them, I know they post them on their websites, but beyond that, I don't think much. Okay. I'd also say, as a demonstrator, I usually request that anything I do not be recorded, or it becomes a dead, presentation you can make. So I think that when you have these meetings, you might talk about the demonstrator side of this and how you can protect his intellectual property there, really.
Well, the other issue for demonstrators is how in a hybrid meeting can the remote demonstrator get feedback from the room. And one thing I've noticed is we are one of the few clubs that always have a camera on the actual room, so you can see the fellows in the room, which many clubs don't do. So they're just disembodied voices, which makes the demonstrator's task particularly tough, because the demonstrator really needs to gauge the reactions. Are they interested? Are they falling asleep? Are they wandered off? What's going on out there? So I think that's one of the real issues with hybrid meetings that is, I have not seen any others address that. And I think it's critical.
Kalamazoo does a very good job with that, but that's the only other club I know of.
So, part of the reason I'm asking this here is I'm going to go through the recording after and write down all these club names and put them on my invite list for the hybrid meeting monthly session, I think. How about you, Reginald? What club are you with, and what's up there?
I'm the immediate past president of the Nittany Valley Woodturners in State College, Pennsylvania. We have several other people from the club on this conversation as well. Mike Lebo, who has been instrumental in getting us started with hybrid meetings, and Ken Vasco, who's the new president. I would suggest that you communicate with Ken in the future about this. We've been attempting hybrid meetings for probably a year, And I say attempting because some of them have worked out rather well. But as we tried to get more complex by adding cameras and switching cameras and all those sorts of things, we occasionally had some difficulties. One of our biggest difficulties has been with audio and having feedback problems and all those sorts of things. We have just had one person in the club who's pretty knowledgeable about AV equipment step up and say that he will take over the role of videotape, videoing our club meetings. We have been posting them, but only on our website, and I think it's available to anybody.
Thank you. And I am in touch with Ken Vasco about this. He's one of my key discussants, actually. He's a very keen to get this worked out. Mike Brazeau, how about you?
Yeah, hi. Good morning, John. Yeah, we just found a new venue, our executive. I'm not on our executive. Golden Horseshoe Woodturners, and we used to be in Burlington. We're going to be in Hamilton. Our executive has put a budget together for around $3,000 for cameras and the mini, etc. But we're really hesitant to do it because of lack of expertise to run it. I have been sitting in the background. I've joined the Lucid group just to learn. I like digital photography, and I've been president twice, vice president, et cetera, so I can't keep my nose out of things. I put a proposal together, and I've had silence so far. I put it together on the weekend. I started investigating wireless mics. Just found it on a link. There was a new one popped up as an alternative to the Rode. And I've used my iPhone and iPad to produce content that we've been using in our meetings quite successfully, putting them in PowerPoints, and then we have a discussion around the PowerPoints, ongoing slide by slide. Anyway, what I was proposing is to just set up a Zoom meeting. Yeah, anyway, I proposed to just take my phone on a monopod or tripod, depending on where I was going to use it, with one of these wireless mics coupled to it. I found one on Amazon I could get for $40. It probably wouldn't be the one to use when we get into a real good system, but I could at least test it. And just use the phone to interact with the host, with the demonstrator, with the audience for that matter, and kind of wander,
I think that's a good strategy, and I hope you'll attend this meeting when we pull it together.
I certainly will, and I'm going to pass this on to Keith and the others. There's a group, and I've been sitting in the background on it, but researching and looking at the alternatives. So we haven't even got into our space yet. So that's our first meeting. They're going to move in a week Saturday, and then we go from there. That's a big move for us because we were without. I'm hearing from a lot of people. They don't want you back, and it's a lot of old guys, and people are worried about the risk and COVID's still around. We know 2 families that are very, very sick right now with the new variants, and of all ages, from children to in their 50s, and they're sick as hell.
Well, in our county, the demographic is 95% vaccinated in our age demographic, and the case positivity rate is 3 per 100,000 right now, so it doesn't get a whole lot lower than that. But the statistics, the outlook is not real good. Yeah. Tom White, your comments.
I'm the program director at Susquehanna Woodturners in Harrisburg, and we've been having the hybrid meetings for a while and just bought some new equipment. Tim Starlipper, the president, is kind of the techie of all this sort of stuff. We had kind of a disaster in February because he forgot one of the microphones, but they upgraded it, and the March meeting turned out a lot better. But we usually, as Bill said, we're at the Woodcraft store, and we usually have like 3 cameras in the room, plus a few other people attend on Zoom. And that's been, so far, it's turned out all right. I think it's going pretty well. I think one of the big tests is our April meeting. We're going to have a demo from a guy in England is going to demo for the whole club, and that's going to be a hybrid thing as well. So it's going to be a pretty good test as how well our thing works. They do record it, and I believe Tim posts a link on our website, but I don't know that he edits the videos as well as you do. But things I think are coming along a little bit better these days. And, we're sort of taking a few tips from you, actually.
Thank you. Duxbury, you got more to say here, or you got your hand up because you want to show work?
I wanted to show work. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, I appreciate that discussion very much. I will be pulling the names of the clubs that everybody mentioned off the tape so I can add them to my invite list when I try and pull off the first of these meetings, which will probably be sometime in April. And I appreciate very much the interest and the comments here. I'm not surprised to see that so many of you are active in more than one club, because what we tend to have attracted here are very active turners who tend to be both active in the workshop and active in the Society of Turning Clubs. So it's quite gratifying to see. So thank you very much for that. Now let's go to the regular business of the day. Show of hands for who wants to show work today. Use raise hand, please. I know I've got Duxbury, I've got Judy Stone. Don Smith, are you on this morning? Are you here? Don Smith contacted me and said he wanted to show some stuff from England, but I don't see him on the screen. Let me see anybody else. I also see a question here from Rich Colvin. What a club means, can we do... Oh, lots there, Rich. Rich, I'm going to suggest you bring those questions to the meeting that we're going to have, and I'll have you on the list for that too. Where's Rich Colvin? Could you raise your hand something so I can see you? I'm still looking for Rich Colvin. Is he here?
Yeah, I got to find out how to raise my hand. Hang on a second.
I'm just looking for your picture. I'm not even seeing it, but there's a lot on screen to find. Anyway, I'll have you on my list, if I may, to bring those questions to a meeting of clubs that are involved in this. What club do you belong to? Oh, I see you down there now. What clubs do you belong to, Rich?
I was just going to put that in the chat to you. Central Ohio Woodturners is the one, and I'll send it to you on the chat so you'll have it.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, I got a list of people up here with stuff they want to show. I'm going to pick them off. I'm going to Duxbury, is it okay with you if I hold you a little later, or have you got something that's very fabulous today?
I got something pretty fabulous.
Then I'm going to go to you first and Judy Stone. Okay. So I'm going to go down the list in the order that they're up there. And we got 35, 40 minutes to go here. So Duxbury, it's you. Spotlight on you.
I can do a share. I think I'm doing it.
You're doing it.
For Valentine's Day, I made my wife a Valentine's bowl. This is pretty hard to do. This is on the order of what I've been doing, cutting bowls in half. The top half is made in one section and the bottom half is made in another section. Oh, this thing's not liking me today.
Oh, you mean there's a glue line through the middle of the heart?
You got it. You can't turn one of those any other way.
I couldn't figure out how you did that.
Yeah, here on this one you can see the glue line. It's Madrone from Washington.
That's a pretty
cool. The bottom of the bowl is turned just a V-shaped bowl. The top's turned with the heart section in it. She didn't get it for a week late because I messed the first blank up unreal.
So you can't make one of those, you have to make two.
Yes, sir. And there's a lot you can make all kinds of stuff when you make two. The only problem I had is I glue the blanks together. I glue the wood blanks together with brown paper, just like you do spindle wise. And then when I get it turned, I turn the whole outside. So I don't have to guess and measure. I know that everything lines up. Then I split it in half and turn the inside. So the reason this was late is I glued the blank up and I had the mounting of one of the blanks figured out already. And so I had to turn it around from what I normally do. And when I put some reference cuts in, I forgot I turned the blank around. And I cut these deep gouges in the thick end and the other small gouges in the thin end. And it was just a mess. So anyway, she got it a week late.
Questions for Jim? Okay. You got more? You guys have to review.
I have a question.
Go for it.
How did you turn the bottom, or how did you hold it?
On the bottom's a V shape, and I turned on the outside. I left it thick on the pointy end, with a tenon on it. So then I could turn that, and I could turn it around, put it on a chuck, and turn the inside out, and then I could reverse turn it with just the tailstock pointing against the flat plate, and clean the little knob up or take the tenon off.
Alan here with a question or observation. This would be a great topic one of these weeks or months for a club demonstration if you would be available. I think I can wrap my head around what you're doing, but I would really appreciate seeing it.
I don't know. Number one, I don't even know if I could do it in one session.
That sounds like a video to me.
Well, or a video, yes.
I don't know. That's just the heart. You can make all kinds of things.
Well, I understand that part. Yeah.
I mean, once you've done this in 2 sections, you could do 3 or 4 sections.
Right.
I mean, you could make anything out of this. It's. I'm thinking, I don't know.
Okay, well, we'll come back to you. I'm going to go on. How about you, Judy Stone? I'm going to show your slides, or are you going to show them?
No, you please.
Okay, just a second here.
Sorry, this is a walnut bowl that I'm looking for.
And this is from Greenwood?
From Greenwood. And I was really pleased because with how thin I got it and telling me how symmetrically geographic.
I'm sorry, we can't quite hear you, I'm afraid.
I don't know why. Okay, is this any better if I lean forward more?
Yes, I'm going to go to the next. I'm going to go to the next slide if I can find it here.
Right. No, that's walnut, Mark.
This is walnut.
That's walnut.
Yeah.
And I just stuck it on the floor, so you don't see the light part that well. But again, as I say, I was really tickled that I got it. So a nice thin bowl.
What I'm noticing about that is you've turned that the pith of the tree is on the bottom of the bowl, so you get ovals as opposed to the other way around. You get these swoopy sort of shapes.
Okay. Thank you for my education. Okay.
Comments, questions? It's a nice bowl.
Thank you.
I love your sapwood accents on either side too. That's the result of cutting it through the pith, right? So, yeah. I mean, turning it through the pith.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the result of how neatly Carroll prepped things for us, and that I was careful not to turn that off. Okay,
was that green?
It's green walnut.
Yeah.
Did it bow yet? Walnut, I think, really bends, or didn't it?
Not yet. It's just a few days, so not yet. And I've tucked it. I oiled it and waxed it and put it in a paper bag, and we'll take it out and see what happens next week, praying that it doesn't crack. Next, please.
Your question was whether you could microwave dry that. I think you probably could, but I'd be a little cautious about it. Like, put it in for a minute, take it out, let it cool, do it again.
Yeah, that's more on this piece, which is green hickory, that big chunk, 9-inch. I haven't worked with anything that large before. Next, please. I really like the grain in it. And there it is finished. I imagine that some of the speckling appearance is because it's wet or more wet in different areas.
Are you sure that's hickory? It looks an awful lot like cherry.
I don't think it's cherry. Carroll, do you want to chime in? Boss said it was hickory, and it doesn't smell like the cherry that I've cut before.
Okay, so it's hickory then, maybe.
Maybe we can see what Carroll says, but anyway, I think that I'm ambivalent whether I should have made it a thinner rim, but it's really a big bowl, and it seemed to suit the size of the piece. And the question that I had for the group, again, I oiled it and waxed it on the outside. I had some tear out, you can see on the edge grain, which I just could not get rid of. If you have suggestions about that, I tried and tried. But how long it will take to dry in a bag without cracking, or what's the likelihood of it cracking if I nuke it?
Well, you're awfully close to the pith. I can see the pith is just off the surface here, so you're at risk of cracks starting in that area. Anybody else?
How thick is the
Judy,
wall?
I
It
doubled
looks
it.
like about 1/4 of an inch wall.
Yes.
I would guess it's probably not going to crack. I would try to slow it down in drying by putting it in a paper bag for a day or two and then leave it out for a day and back in. But you should be okay with it, I would think.
So you only have to leave it in a bag for a couple of days?
Well, I would alternate. I would go maybe a couple of weeks, but leave it in for a couple of days and take it out for a day, let it sit for a couple of hours, get some drying, and change it from staying in the bag forever, continuously.
Okay.
Well,
I wasn't sure how you did that.
The other way, Judy, is I double bag them, 2 bags, and I change them every 2 or 3 days and put them in a new fresh dry bag. And they dry. I dried some fresh cherry recently. It dried in a couple of weeks, maybe 2 weeks actually.
Great.
I just put them in a cupboard. I have an empty cupboard that I don't use for anything else. I just put wet stuff in there and close the door. Seems to work pretty well. About the same as a bag.
Same with me. I put it in a bag and wrap the top up tight and set it in the corner and forget it and take it out in a month or so, and it usually comes out fine. But all of this is sort of like, this is like a meeting of witch doctors, actually.
Okay, well, thank you all for your suggestions. Carroll, do you want to chime in about the wood?
I had some luck doing microwaves. What I do is I put it in for 30 seconds and then I leave it out for half an hour. Then I put it in for 30 seconds and I put it in for half an hour. But the most important thing is making sure you weigh it before you do anything and just keep watching those weights. But I think either way it work. I've done bags too and they all work.
The 30 seconds is at full blast?
Yes, 30 seconds is full power.
Okay, thank you.
A few years ago, I tried kitty litter and I had real good success with it.
That works the same as microwave, I think, in effect.
You can also use desiccant pellets. If you go to my YouTube channel and to the Woodworkers Journal playlist, there's a video with Dave Hout where doing it in desiccant. You can do it as fast as a microwave, almost, not quite that fast, but certainly a day or two you can have it dry.
Well, cat litter is basically a desiccant anyhow.
As long as you keep the cats away from it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, thank you. Before we go further down the list, I wanted to acknowledge Angelo, who's on here screen somewhere. Angelo's ball boxes, which are the magician's illusions props that he makes, were featured in the AAW website as the turning of the month with a whole thicket of the things. And I just wanted to let you guys all know that, about a year ago, Angelo and I made a video of the whole process for the Lancaster Club. And that video has not been released publicly, but I will post a link to that. Because Angelo got featured on AAW, I'll post a link in our follow-up this week. So any of you who want to know how he makes one of the magician's ball boxes, you'll be able to watch a full video, 1 hour video explaining it. It's a great process, extraordinarily fun turning. Okay, Jeff Carroll.
Turned a bowl recently. This is Mimosa.
Huh.
That's some unusual grain.
Is that the Mimosa, like if you touch the leaves, it collapses, pulls in tight?
Right. But it's a nice looking wood.
What's your finish?
General bowl finish.
It looks like it's sort of not quite, it's sort of shiny and speckled shiny. How is it actually?
It's pretty shiny all over. That's the way the light's hitting in, I guess. But it's pretty even finish on it.
It's a nice bowl.
Thank you.
Do you have more of that wood? Do you have more of that wood?
I do. I had my son cut a tree down in his yard, and that's where it came from. But this week, I've turned some bunny rabbits. And I have 4 grandchildren, so
you got to make 4 of them, in other words.
That's right.
What are the ears made out of?
Leather. Just cut it and drilled a hole, roll the ends, and stuck it down in there.
And the eyes?
The eyes are just craft eyes, a plastic. Drill a hole, stick them in, and the whiskers are just black wire.
And the nose?
The nose is also a plastic craft nose, but
they're actually the craft eyes that you use for crocheting when you crocheters use them when they make stuffed animals. So you get them in the sewing department.
Are they googly eyes or are they still?
Still.
Yeah.
They actually have a stem on them, so it helps to be able to hold in the wood.
The wood is spalted tamarind.
Spalted tamarind. Hold that back up. Tamarind, like that makes the fruit that's used in Asian cooking?
I'm not sure. I mean, it is an imported wood, and it's an Asian wood, I'm pretty sure. But it's spalted tamarind.
So you didn't harvest that locally. You bought the wood.
That's correct. That's what I made snowmen out of back before Christmas. But
all right. Any questions for Jeff? Okay, thank you, Jeff. Michael Brazeau, you're next.
Yeah, hi. If I could do a share screen.
You sure can.
Full screen. This is, before the meeting started, you were talking about mulberry. And this is a bowl I did in 2000. It came out of my brother-in-law's wood pile. And at the time, I didn't know what the heck it was. And it is mulberry and was my very first posting about wood turning on the wood magazines. So, and John Lucas, people had various opinions. We eventually, anyway, the bottom picture is about 2 years later. And this is a change in key bowl at my sister-in-law's. And I put this together years ago because when mulberry comes up, people want to know. I just love the color that it turns to. It's amazing. And it's a nice wood to turn.
That's the
That
same
was very
piece.
early in my natural edge bowl career.
What
Anyway,
finish?
that's I can finish off here. I'll just stop share. Good.
What finish? What finish was that?
Oh, I think it was a homemade Danish oil. And actually, I was going to say to you as well, to differentiate between Osage and mulberry, really the weight of the stuff, Osage is much, much heavier and denser. It's pretty obvious. The grain and mulberry is almost like an ash grain as well. It's not as tight as Osage.
But mulberry is a dream to turn.
Oh, it's lovely. I love it. I've got some right now, in fact. Yeah. I turned last fall.
Is that it from you?
That's it, yep.
Any other questions for Michael? I'm surprised it turned that dark, but it's nice to see. Harvie Porter, I think you're going to show us your workshop, yeah?
That's correct. And I will mention that I'm the new president of the Woodchuck Turners up here in Vermont, and so I'd like to get in on your meetings there. We did try some hybrid meetings last fall. Our shop where we often meet is a summertime meeting place, and so when it got too cold, we stopped meeting there. But we're still working through the bandwidth and a few other things as far as getting a good hybrid meeting going. So here's my workshop.
Now remember, you showed us slides a couple of weeks ago of your work, so this is a kind of a follow-on to that, yeah?
Correct. So there's my lathe 3520B. Up close there, you can see I've got a dust collection system made out of an old desk lamp, and I've got a vacuum chuck system, which is nice. I keep my coring system up on that bar at the top of the picture. Tools, I've got more tools than this, but these are the ones I'm using most often. I've since changed from, you can see my sandpapers arranged there. I think I showed a couple of weeks ago, I'll get to it in a minute, sharpening station. And here's my sanding discs storage, and I added a door to it when I got the Rolock system. And here's my, now the sanding grits are all arranged on the door, and I can just easily, quickly change between those. So anyway, that's a whirlwind tour of my shop.
Okay. Is that it from you? Okay. Questions for Harvie?
Does that lathe box get in your way? It looks like it sticks out a ways.
I can't quite hear that.
The lathe box looks like it sticks out a ways. Does it interfere with your turning?
You mean the toolbox under, or do you mean the dust hood?
No, the toolbox underneath the lathe.
No, it's in terms of being standing up to the lathe. I'd say no, and part of it is that often when I'm turning the inside of the bowl, because the Powermatic has a slidable headstock, I bring the headstock out, and so I'm turning the inside from the end of the bedway, and so that's where perhaps you're saying it's in my way. It doesn't get in the way because of that aspect.
Cool. Any other questions? Okay. Any other comments for Harvie? Okay. Thank you, Harvie, for showing that. I extracted the video that you gave us, this tour you gave us the other week. I'll probably add this onto it and post it as a separate video this week, if that's okay with you.
That'd be fine.
Do you have a website of your own that you'd like included in that video as a card?
I do not yet. My children are working on getting me to do something on Facebook, and my daughter's made a new logo for me and a few other things, but I'm still behind the times as far as the
okay.
online presence.
Thank you. I'm going to go to Jeff Hankinson. I haven't heard from you, and you sent me an interesting chat. So what do you got today, Jeff?
Bert, I'm new to your group. Bert Delisle of Edmonton said that some of the members are interested in what you can do with a CNC as well as a lathe. So I thought I'd show a couple little pieces. This is just nothing remarkable. This is a little bud vase, but you can see on the bottom here.
Hold it back closer to your face. Hold it back closer to your face so you get a single focal plane. That's it. A little further forward. Come forward a bit. You had it perfect a second ago. There you go.
Yeah. So that's what you can do. There's nothing to do with a bud vase, but
where's the router in that situation?
For this one, I oriented it like this, so the router comes down on top.
So this is mounted into your CNC. This is not done on the lathe. This is done in a CNC.
This part, the bud vase is done on the lathe.
Yeah.
And then I take it over to CNC and embellish it with that kind of stuff.
So you don't have the router mounted on the lathe.
Here's another one.
Okay.
Oh. Although that said, I could. So this is another one that I've done. See if we get the focus a little better. So you get that three-dimensional kind of a basket look to it there. I don't know if you can pick that up a little bit.
We can see that, yeah.
So that's kind of fun. So that I turn that on the lathe and then take it over to the CNC while it's still in the chuck. And this one was cut in this orientation. There's a video about it on the Edmonton Woodturners Guild site. And then something like this is
on the
pretty
basket
easy to do.
weave, Jeff, on the basket weave, are those flats that you cut on each?
Yeah.
I mean, you cut flats.
Isn't that fun, the way that looks? So that's actually cut with about an 1.5 inch grooving bit on the router. That's the width of it is that's roughly 1/4 inch.
So those are flats.
Yeah, well, they dip in and they look like flats, but they're curved. If you looked at this thing, I don't know if you can get it real close.
Yeah, I can
get
see
the
now.
texture of it, eh?
Yeah. So
The cutter was at 90. The cutter was basically in the 90 degrees then, instead of cutting straight. It was cutting at 90 degrees of the surface.
Yeah. So Rich Colvin would be very familiar with this sort of a look, but this is not an ornamental turning lathe at all. I'm stealing from the world of ornamental turning. So
Hey, it
to
looks
do
nice.
this,
I like it. I was just wondering how you did it.
Yeah. So the cutter comes from the side. This one's on the video on the Edmonton Woodturners group, Edmonton Woodturners Guild Facebook page. And then something like this can be done as well. This is a good size platter, probably 11, 12 inches, something like that. And then you can cut in the design. That one I inlaid with epoxy. So that's good fun. I don't have the patience to do it by hand, so I got the machine to do it for me.
Do you have an indexer on your CNC machine?
Oh no, this stuff don't need an indexer. The CNC does it. This took me maybe, I don't know, 6-8 minutes.
How do you turn the vase then? If you don't turn on an indexer, how do you turn the vase and keep it symmetrical?
4th axis on the CNC.
Oh, okay.
Do you do a practice one first?
Nope.
Yeah, I get it. I have a CNC, but it's only a 3-axis. That's why I was a little bit.
Well, I'm working on a 5th axis. I got a new idea for that. But Bert Delisle mentioned there's a few members of the group are interested in applying CNC to their turnings. So give you an idea what you can do.
Well, if you guys have a video on that, I'd like to see that come. I'd like to post that link along with our follow-up. So if one of you guys would send me the link, I'd be grateful.
And I've got a few samples on a YouTube channel called Embellished Turnings, and that was a year and something ago. I haven't done any recently, and that sort of shows the process.
Thank you, Jeff. Questions? More questions?
Yes, I have a question. How do you hold the bowl on the CNC machine? What kind of a setup do you do there to make it turn? And
yeah, that's I could I could go on at length, but typically I'll turn it on the lathe and I'll leave it attached to the chuck or the faceplate. So I will hold it either by the end. Well, I usually hold it by the end, and I'll either have it in that orientation or that orientation. So it's still attached to the chuck on one end.
I think the question is
on the type of router bit I'm using.
I think the question is, does the CNC machine rotate the workpiece or does it move around the workpiece?
The CNC rotates the workpiece with a 4th axis, yes.
Okay.
So in other words, a rotary axis.
Okay. So, yeah, so it rotates as at known increments as it goes around, as if it was being.
Yeah, wherever I want them.
Yeah.
And I'll use a program written by, sometimes I'll use a program written by Bill Ooms. And Rich Colvin will be very familiar with him. And that's quite helpful in designing it.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice to lay it out and see what it's going to look like.
Yeah. Very nice. Thank you. Any other questions for Jeff? No? Okay, I'm going to take the spotlight off you and go to Mike Peace. Mike, what do you got?
Well, I've got a couple of items. This is a Cook's, it's a traditional Scandinavian drinking cup. I've got a little bit of cherry burl somebody in the club gave me. I got this idea from the back cover picture by Mike Mahoney in the February 2019 issue.
That's a nice piece. What wood is that?
It's cherry, and it's got a little bit of burl on just in one area.
Well, so how'd you turn that and retain the handle? What's your secret here?
That's a process. I've got a video coming out, but there's different ways to do it. Mike did it by laying this out on a bowl blank like this and then trimming away the excess. I found that if you trimmed away the excess first and mounted it like this, it wasn't terribly difficult or off balance because there wasn't that much wood here. I already had the hole drilled, and so that worked out fairly well.
So the outside is mostly shaped by hand, in other words.
It is. Actually, I didn't have any 36 grit sandpaper, but that'd be the ideal way to have a belt sander or something that you could work it work it down a little bit in the corners because it is a bit of a challenge and it does take some hand work.
How about 8 grit?
Yeah, maybe. The other piece I made is this whimsical fish. This was kind of fun. The fish is one piece. The fins are mounted with a little piece of soft wire that you can get from craft stores, Michael's, Hobby Lobby. So I've got a pin in there that tends to hold it because otherwise I found that CA glue just does not hold something like this. It's too easy to tap it and have it come loose. And that works for making miniature birds that I do for birdhouse ornaments as well, using that soft wire pin. And then the eye is just a 1/4 inch brad point drill bit.
Very cool. Very cool. Questions for Mike?
On that cup you made, if you turn the outside at 90 degrees to that and make it spherical, you could turn the whole outside except for the bottom.
Yes, you could.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. In other words, you'd hold the handle in the chuck and turn the outside of it, and then change axes.
Yeah.
Axes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could. There's lots of different ways. That tends to make it not look as traditional.
It takes
this has more of a hand carved look. You can actually do a lot of trimming on the bandsaw. Once you hollow it out, then you come back on a bandsaw and then start narrowing down the edge a little bit, and then you can rotate it up, cut the edges with the bandsaw, top and bottom. You can actually tilt your table to help with those cuts, and then you just do a lot of work pushing it up against some type of sanding, whether it's a sanding disc or a belt sander with a coarse. I used 80 grit because it was as coarse as I had, but Mike Mahoney said 36 grit, and I think he meant it. And then you could hand sand it to finer grits.
Well, that adds to the looks of it too. It's supposed to look that way. Yeah, nice job.
Yeah, Mahoney's a fan of the 12 grit sandpaper too, but I don't think he actually has any.
Nick cooked 2 grit, which is 2 concrete blocks.
Mike, I'm currently making a coffee mug, and it would be applicable to the cup you made there. If you run the grain vertically, if you could, no, I'm just saying, I ran the grain vertically, and you bandsaw the profile to include the handle. In other words, it looks like a skillet from above. And then snap off the handle and turn the cup. You know, you don't turn where the handle attaches. You turn the rim, the midsection, and the bottom, and then you glue the handle back on, and you just clean up in between where you cut.
Yeah, the only concern, this is a cross grain orientation. The only problem with the other, if you turn it as a spindle, which is what I understand you're doing, the coffee cup is a spindle, then you got that set of straws. You got to seal it with epoxy or something else, whereas this you can use walnut oil, any hardening oil that will seal it, and you don't have to worry about those straws leaking out all your liquid.
The coffee, our challenge for this month for the club is to make something that's worthless or goofy, something that has no point. And so my thing is a bottomless coffee cup. You know, it's just basically a cylinder with a handle on it.
Okay. Yeah.
And so the only oddity is that it has a handle made from the same piece.
Sure.
But if you just imagine a coffee mug where it does have a lip, like say a 1/4 inch before the handle starts, and a base that has about a 1/4 inch before the handle protrudes. If you just looking at it from above, bandsaw the shape of the circular cup to include the handle that protrudes. So it would look like a skillet pan from above. and then you just snap off the handle. That's why the grain has to run vertical.
I got you.
And then bandsaw the handle itself in profile, the finger hole and the surround, and you just turn the coffee cup as if it were a bowl. You know, you bore it out and you turn the inside and you turn the outside, but only in the areas where the handle would not exist, like the top 1/4 inch, the middle 2 inches, and the bottom 1/4 inch. And then you can easily sand to blend in the turned areas and the unturned area after the handle is glued back on, and it all appears to have been.
I'm seeing a very clever video coming along here sometime.
Well, I'll be showing the cup at our meeting a week from Tuesday as my monthly challenge response. So,
all right.
But the grain does have to run vertical.
Any other comments for Mike?
Yeah, Mike, I had a comment about you said about putting water in a cup with the spindle turning type of thing. I had that same thought when I turned some wine goblets for my son. I made one end grain off of a spindle, filled it with water, and let it sit overnight. And there was no dampness on the outside, so I thought, I'm doing that. And I made a half a dozen of them. Of course, I sealed them up and all afterwards, but they really did. I was surprised. I didn't see any leakage through it.
Well, you know, I got to say, a couple of years ago, I made a flask using bamboo and with wooden plug in the end, and I filled it up with wine, and I thought it was great, and I left it on my kitchen counter, and while I was out, the bamboo moved, and the wine was it cracked wide open, and spread the wine very nicely in an even layer all over the kitchen.
Well, now that you mention it, I have made several chalices in spindle grain, and they seem to do fairly well. So I guess the key is sealing them pretty well with a finish, and it's not something you're going to have a liquid sit in overnight.
It depends on what wood it is as well. You know, if it's white oak, Milosis, no issue.
Right. Yeah.
Who lets wine sit in a cup all overnight?
Well, it depends on how many cups you already had.
Oh, you forgot that it was in the cup. Okay.
Yeah, or fell asleep. On that note, kids, we're up to 11 o'clock, and I have two people left over, Bert Delisle as well as Donald Smith. We'll lead off with you guys next week, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Fine. Yep.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm an hour behind you at the moment.
Yeah, it's daylight time here.
So I've just come on and you're finished.
Yeah, so we'll get you next week, Don, because I know you have a nice presentation of a very interesting piece that I want to see, and I also know that Bert always has good stuff. So is that okay with you, Bert?
Hey, John, if I can do a real quick screen share, I just want to show our club challenge. I've got a picture posted up here already, so can you guys see that? What the heck happened here?
That looks like a Wigstand to me.
That's a Wigstand. So our charitable coordinator asked the club if we could make some Wigstands. So I made one just to see what it's like, and then a couple days later, this is what my bench looked like. And yesterday, Stu Bremner brought a box over. He had 8 of them. So we now have 15 Wigstands ready to go to our charitable donation to the Cancer Center.
Well, I think, Barry, when is our donation date? Because I'm going to come and take a video of that so we can all see it. Later in April, isn't it? Yep. Barry has set up a meeting with the people at the Barshinger Center for our club to donate the things, and we'll make a video of that too. I think it's later in April, though.
Could I just say one thing to Bert? I promised him to what the name of the ship is behind him. It's the SS Discovery, Captain Scott's fatal trip to the Antarctic.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you for that. That's excellent.
SS Discovery.
SS Discovery. Yeah, that's excellent. Scott. Thanks a lot.
Antarctic.
Thank you all. It's been a very entertaining hour. We'll see you all next week.
I'll be with you next week.
Same time, same place.
Thanks again, John.
Wood shop. Thank God for wood.